The turkey was golden, the cranberry sauce glistened under the chandelier, and the table was set for 12. It was Thanksgiving Day, November 27th, 2025, and the house on Maplewood Lane smelled of sage, butter, and the faint undercurrent of resentment that had been building for 6 long years. I was 81 years old. My name is Eleanor Grace Hawthorne, though most people just call me Grandma Ellie. I had raised 3 children in this house. I had buried my husband Harold here in spirit. His ashes sat on the mantel above the fireplace. I had paid off the mortgage with 25 years of teaching 3rd grade and Harold's railroad pension. The deed was in my name alone, the taxes paid on time, the roof replaced twice, the garden tended every spring. This was my house. Or it had been until the slow invasion began. It started innocently enough. My oldest granddaughter, Madison, 28 at the time, called me in tears one rainy afternoon in 2019. She and her husband, Tyler, had lost their apartment after Tyler's startup folded. Just for a few months, Grandma, she promised. We'll help around the house. We'll pay rent as soon as we're back on our feet. I had a soft heart and an empty nest, so I said yes. Then came my grandson Jacob and his wife Kayla, who were between jobs after a cross-country move. They needed a place to land while they looked for work in the city. Only temporary, Grandma Ellie, Jacob swore, hugging me tight. They took the basement suite. Then Madison announced she was pregnant. We can't possibly move now, she said, hand on her belly. The baby needs stability. Tyler nodded solemnly, as if the child had personally requested to stay in my home indefinitely. One by one, excuses piled up like autumn leaves. Jobs fell through. Savings disappeared into investments. Cars broke down. Medical bills appeared. And slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the balance of power shifted. They stopped asking. They started demanding. Madison claimed the master bedroom because the baby needs space and natural light. I moved into the small guest room at the back of the house, the one with the slanted ceiling and the single window that looked onto the alley. Tyler took over the garage for his new business venture, something involving crypto mining rigs that hummed day and night and doubled my electric bill. Kayla rearranged my kitchen cabinets without asking, throwing out my old cast iron pans because they were too heavy for an old lady to lift. Jacob used my living room as his personal gaming den, feet on the coffee table, surround sound blaring until midnight. They ate my food, used my washer and dryer, streamed on my internet, and never once contributed more than a token $20 toward groceries every few months. And the mocking began. I'd hear it through the thin walls, whispers, giggles, eye rolls. She's so old-fashioned. Why doesn't she just go to a home? This place is ours eventually anyway. Might as well get used to running it. She doesn't even notice when we take her credit card for emergencies. I noticed everything. But I said nothing. Because they were my grandchildren. Because I loved them. Because I remembered Madison with pigtails and Jacob losing his first tooth on my porch. Because I was raised to believe family comes first, no matter what. But love has limits. And disrespect has consequences. By the fall of 2025, I had quietly reached mine. It began with a notebook. I bought a simple spiral-bound notebook at the dollar store and began keeping records. Every grocery receipt. Every utility bill. Every withdrawal from my bank account that I hadn't authorized. Every time they used my car without asking. Every insult I overheard. I photographed the master bedroom they'd taken, my bedroom, with its new modern furniture and abstract art that replaced Harold's and my wedding portrait. I printed bank statements showing thousands of dollars spent on gaming consoles, designer clothes, takeout, and something called NFT projects. I saved text messages. Madison, Grandma, can you watch the kids tonight? Tyler and I need a date night. Me, of course, dear. Madison to Kayla, screenshot from when she accidentally sent it to the family group. She said yes, LOL, free babysitting again. I gathered it all into a blue folder labeled evidence. Then I called Margaret O'Donnell. Margaret had been my neighbor for 40 years. She was a retired probate attorney with a voice like whiskey and a mind sharp as a tack. We used to drink tea on her porch every Sunday after church. Ellie, she said when I told her everything, you've been far too kind for far too long. This isn't family helping family. This is exploitation. She referred me to her former colleague, Daniel Park, a property law specialist known for being thorough, discreet, and utterly ruthless when it came to protecting vulnerable seniors. I met Daniel in his office downtown. I brought the blue folder. He read through it silently, occasionally raising an eyebrow. "You've done my job for me," he said finally. "This is textbook gratuitous occupancy. No lease. No rent. No permission to permanently reside. You have every legal right to terminate their tenancy." "Tenancy?" I asked. "That's what the law calls it. They're tenants at sufferance. You've allowed them to stay out of goodwill. You can revoke that goodwill at any time." "How long?" 30 days written notice, properly served. After that, if they don't leave, we file for eviction." I nodded slowly. "And if I want to make a point?" Daniel smiled for the first time. "We can make a very clear point." We planned it carefully. The eviction notices were prepared, formal, legal, cold. Each adult received their own copy: Madison, Tyler, Jacob, Kayla. Even though the great-grandchildren were minors, their parents were responsible. Daniel's process server was a woman named Carla, mid-40s, professional, unflappable. She wore a navy suit and carried a leather briefcase. We chose the date, Thanksgiving Day. Not because I wanted drama, but because I wanted them to remember. I wanted the lesson to be carved deeper than the turkey. Thanksgiving morning dawned crisp and bright. I was up at 5, as always. The house was quiet, they all slept late, especially on holidays. I basted the 22-pound turkey, made stuffing from my mother's recipe, mashed potatoes with real butter, green beans with almonds, candied yams, homemade rolls, 3 pies, pumpkin, pecan, and apple and cranberry sauce from fresh berries. The table was set with the good china, the silver herald and I received at our wedding, cloth napkins, crystal glasses. By noon, they began drifting downstairs. Madison in leggings and an oversized sweater, hair in a messy bun. Tyler in sweatpants, already scrolling on his phone. Jacob and Kayla with their 2 toddlers in tow, the kids sticky from breakfast cereal. "Smells amazing," Grandma Madison said, kissing my cheek. "Yeah, thanks for doing all this," Jacob added, grabbing a roll from the basket. I smiled. "It's my pleasure. Family Thanksgiving is special." They didn't notice the tension in my hands, or the way I kept glancing at the clock. At 2 p.m. sharp, the doorbell rang. I wiped my hands on my apron and went to answer it. Carla stood on the porch in her navy suit, briefcase in hand. "Mrs. Eleanor Hawthorne?" she asked formally. "Yes. I have documents for service." I stepped aside. "Please come in." The chatter in the dining room stopped as Carla entered. Madison frowned. "Who's that?" Carla didn't smile. She walked straight to the table. "Madison Rose Carter?" Madison blinked. "Yes." Carla handed her a thick envelope. "You've been served." "Tyler James Carter?" Tyler took his envelope, face paling. "Jacob Michael Hawthorne?" Jacob's mouth opened, but no sound came out. "Kayla Renee Hawthorne?" Kayla clutched her toddler closer as she accepted the papers. "What is this?" Madison demanded, ripping open the envelope. The room went silent except for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall. Madison's eyes scanned the page. Her face drained of color. "Notice to quit premises, 30 days. Failure to vacate will result in unlawful detainer action." She looked up at me. "Grandma?" I stood in the doorway between the kitchen and dining room, apron still on, hands clasped in front of me. "Yes, dear. You're evicting us?" "I'm terminating your permission to live in my home," I said calmly. "You have 30 days to find new arrangements." Tyler exploded. "This is bullshit. We're family." "You ceased behaving like family some time ago," I replied. Jacob stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. "You can't do this. We have kids." "You have 30 days," I repeated. "After that, the sheriff will enforce the court order." Kayla started crying. "Where are we supposed to go?" "That," I said gently, "is no longer my concern." Madison's voice broke. "It's Thanksgiving." "Yes," I said. "And I thought it would be memorable." Carla nodded to me and left as quietly as she'd arrived. The turkey sat cooling on the sideboard. No one moved to carve it. Tyler stormed around the table. This is elder abuse. I'll sue you. You may try, I said. But my attorney is very good. Jacob tried reason. Grandma, let's talk about this. We can work something out. We'll pay rent. You've had 6 years to pay rent, I said. You chose not to. Madison held up the notice. You planned this. You invited us for Thanksgiving just to humiliate us. No, I said. I invited you for Thanksgiving because I still love you. But love doesn't mean surrender. Silence fell heavy as winter snow. Finally, I spoke again. Dinner is ready. You're welcome to stay and eat. Or you're welcome to leave. But the notices stand. No one ate much. They picked at the food, whispered among themselves, shot me angry or pleading looks. The children sensed the tension and whimpered. By 4 o'clock, they had packed overnight bags and left, claiming they'd stay with friends until this gets sorted. I wrapped the leftovers carefully, washed the good china by hand, and put away the silver. Then I sat in my living room, with a cup of tea and listened to the silence. It was the most peaceful sound I'd heard in years. The 30 days passed like a slow storm. At first, there were angry texts and calls. Madison, how could you do this to your own blood? Tyler, you're going to regret this, old woman. Jacob, think about the kids. It's almost Christmas. I didn't reply. Then came the negotiations. Madison again, we'll pay rent, $500 a month. Please, Grandma. I forwarded it to Daniel. His response, which I relayed, the offer is noted but declined. Vacate by December 27th. Then guilt. Kayla, the baby's been crying for you. She keeps asking for Grandma Ellie. I didn't respond. Then threats. Tyler left a voicemail. You think you're smart? Wait till we tell everyone what a cruel bitch you are. No one will visit you in the nursing home. I saved it for Daniel. On December 20th, Madison showed up alone at my door, eyes red, coat unbuttoned despite the cold. Grandma, she said, voice small. Can we talk? I let her in. We sat in the living room. She looked around as if seeing it for the first time, the family photos, Harold's old armchair, my knitting basket. I didn't realize, she said quietly, how much we took from you. I waited. I thought. I don't know. That you liked having us here. That it was mutual. It was mutual when it was temporary, I said. It stopped being mutual when you took my bedroom and my peace. She nodded, tears falling. I'm leaving him, she said suddenly. I've been packing in secret. I found an apartment, small, but mine. I got a job at the hospital. Nights, but it's steady. I set my cup down. I'm sorry, Grandma. For everything. For the mocking. For the credit card. For not seeing you. I looked at her, really looked. She was 28 going on 40, worn down by bad choices and a worse husband. You're my granddaughter, I said. I will always love you. But love has conditions now. Respect. Boundaries. Truth. She nodded. Can I still see you? Bring the kids sometimes. As a guest, I said. With notice. And never to stay. She smiled through tears. That's fair. She left an hour later, promising to be out by the deadline. Jacob and Kayla moved to on December 23rd, taking their noise and mess with them. Tyler and Madison fought publicly in my driveway on December 26th, screaming about money and custody and whose fault everything was. The neighbors watched from behind curtains. On December 27th, the final day, a sheriff's deputy arrived with Daniel and Carla to oversee the lockout. Only a few boxes remained in the garage. Tyler had come earlier, loaded his crypto rigs, and left without a word. Madison came one last time alone to pick up the children's toys. She hugged me on the porch. I'm sorry, she whispered again. I know, I said. Start fresh. Be better. She nodded and walked to her car, an older model she'd bought herself. I closed the door. The house was mine again. Truly mine. I spent January cleaning. I hired painters to refresh the walls in soft creams and sages. I reclaimed the master bedroom, buying a new mattress and bedding in pale blue. I turned the basement into a craft room and library. I hung Harold's and my wedding portrait back above the fireplace. In February, I started the group. It began with Margaret and 3 other widows from the neighborhood, Ruth, Diane, and Clara. We met every Wednesday at 4 p.m. in my sunroom for tea and talk. The topic was always the same: protecting what's yours. We discussed wills, trusts, powers of attorney, property deeds, bank accounts, passwords. I shared my story, not for pity, but for warning. Soon, more women came. Then some men. Adult children brought elderly parents. We called ourselves the Maplewood Boundary Society. By spring, we had 20 regular members. We helped Betty Lang refuse to sign her house over to her son. We supported Harold Jenkins when his daughter tried to move in to take care of him. We taught phrases. I'm not ready to make that decision. That doesn't work for me. No. Simple words. Powerful words. Madison visited every other Sunday with the children. She brought cookies she'd baked herself. We sat on the porch and really talked. She was saving for a down payment, taking classes, learning who she was without Tyler. One warm June evening, as fireflies blinked in the yard, she said, I used to think strength was loud. Yelling. Demanding. But you were quiet. And you won. Strength, I said, is knowing when to stop giving away pieces of yourself. She nodded. The Boundary Society grew. We printed pamphlets, Your Home, Your Rules, a guide for seniors. We spoke at the library, the senior center, even the local news did a segment. I never sought revenge. Only restoration. By the first anniversary of that Thanksgiving, my house was filled again, but this time with voices of people learning to say no. With laughter that respected boundaries. With tea poured for guests, not tenants. And every night, I sat in Harold's old armchair, remote in hand, volume exactly as I liked it. The turkey that year was smaller, just 12 pounds. I carved it myself. And every bite tasted like peace.